Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Jessica Clemens. You can call me Dr. Jess. I'm a board certified psychiatrist, and this is Be Well at Home, my pandemic version of a live conversation that I was really excited to kick off a few years ago. And well, I'm so fortunate to continue these conversations, especially during these times. Now, I'm so excited for my second guest of Be Well at Home. But before I introduce him, I want to make sure you all understand a few things. One is that I am a doctor, but I'm not your doctor, and this is not therapy at all. Number two is this is a community that I hope that you can join and learn and grow from. So make sure that you drop comments here and also head over to my Instagram at Ask Dr. Jess to find other like-minded folks too. The last piece is I ask that you learn something during this conversation. It's an opportunity for us all to grow. So listen and learn, and hopefully it will help you in your journey. Now, our guest is amazing. I am so honored to be able to have this conversation with him. He is an American musician. We all know him through his beautiful work that he does on the piano, on the keys. It's absolutely amazing. He's from New Orleans and Juilliard trained. He's also Grammy nominated, and we also have heard his music in soul if you guys have been watching it on repeat like I have. So let's welcome Jon Batiste.
Hey, that Rodale. Look. Where you at, Jess? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Jon, I'm so honored to have a conversation with you. I wish it was in person.
Yeah, I know, man. These are times we in, huh?
It's some very, very weird times for sure. It's 2021 though. How's it
Yeah.
been for you so far?
2021 has been a year of just going with the flow.
Yeah.
You get outside and you got to be protected in your hazmat suit every time you go somewhere. And, that's the least of our concerns. I've had relatives with the COVID,
Mm.
and I've had people I know very close to elders that have had to deal with a lot of real struggle. So it's been a time of a lot of contemplation and a lot of just going with the flow and making the best of situations. And it's really been it's been powerful.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you are thinking about this year also with going with the flow. It's what I try to encourage people to do because it's unprecedented. We don't really, know what to expect. And that's the best thing I think we can do is try to go with the flow and leave space for whatever may come while being safe, right? I
Yeah.
gotta talk about soul though. Oh my goodness. You know it's on repeat in my household. We watch it over and over and over again. What
Yes.
what was it like to get that initial call that, they needed you to bring this character, this first black Pixar star, by the way, to life? I mean, do you remember what it felt like?
I just remember watching Pixar films when I was a kid, and like they just created a magical, surrealist environment for your imagination to run free.
Yeah.
As an adult, even some of the films I saw as an adult gave me that same feeling. I was just first very honored they would call, and I was very interested in getting into the process, figure out how do they do that? How do they make these timeless stories? And then on top of that, the thing that really caught my made me feel like I had to give it all I had was it was the first black lead and first representation of jazz that's not a historic or set in the past. It was a modern jazz for young kids with a black lead in a Pixar film. So I was just like, okay, let's go.
Sign me up, right? I mean, that's powerful. And I think also I know for my baby, I have like a 9-month old now,
Uh,
about him. It's been like amazing to see how he gets to take this in at such a early age, right? To be exposed to jazz and I see his eyes just like look at the film and he's just taken away by it. It's powerful.
I that's what I think that if I had that when I was a child, that maybe just imagining what that would do to my subconscious, my ideas about art and all of the different stuff that they talk about in the film in terms of just talking about the other realm.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much in the film. It's I'm still unpacking. I spent 2 years working, so it's just it's an amazing thing to be part of.
It is. It is. And it's brought conversations I think that are timely, for the state that people are in, trying to figure things out. And even just thinking about, like, just I don't want to give it away, so I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but essentially just thinking about the importance of like embracing the here and now, you know?
Being present,
Yeah.
you know, talk about that, just going with the flow and just being in the moment, because you never know. This moment is precious. This is really all we the
Yeah.
moment is to be present in it. For it is an act of will that you gotta keep. You gotta stay on that every day.
Let me ask you, did it stretch you in different ways to create the jazz composition for this? Because I imagine it's different than like when you're in front of a live audience and you're getting to like feel their energy and give it back and did you have to stretch in a different way to do this?
Well, it's hard to make something that is based off of live interaction feel real in a movie, let alone when it's animated. So I really wanted to. It stretched me to try to figure out how all of these ideas of improvisatory music and make it very easy for people to just watch them over and over and remember the melodies, but it still feel like it was just off the cuff in the way that jazz improvisation
Mm,
it was like a way in a way I had to filter the realness context of a film, which I had never really had the opportunity to do. And I love that because I think now when people go and hear the live experience, to have that as a reference point, even the kids, when they listening to the sound over and over and they hear that as a reference point live, they're gonna be the most avant-garde, new age, future jazz. They're gonna be able to follow it.
well, it was powerful, and I think it brings me to this question I've been thinking about, with how music is really something that can take us on a journey, but also can be incredibly healing. Are there like stories from your own life, or even from some of your fans that maybe have shared that how music, particularly your music, has maybe helped them get through tough times, or get through something difficult?
I'm one of those people who like to read as much fan mail mails as I can, and people in this time in particular have been writing um after Soul after I put out a few other songs last year, and I did some activism and protesting and marching
Mhm.
after George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, all kind of time happening in the country. All of these different things had music at the center of it, whether it was the movie, whether it's the music I was putting out, whether it's the protest, and all music at the center of it. And people really appreciate the realness of it
Mm,
because it's not trying to make you believe in any side or trying to prescribe. It's just saying the truth.
mhm,
Because the notes don't lie, and you could put some marketing around. But if something have the real expression and feeling of a person,
mm.
you can corrupt it. It is what it is. And I just try to lay myself out there, and other musicians lay ourselves out there, and people have written to me every day tons of messages about how much they appreciate how the music that I'm making is helping them to come through this dark time. So doing it, and it's healing for me in turn to hear that from them, even though it's not music, it's related to them feeling the vibe of my music, and then that's me getting my music back in a different form, and that heals me.
That's powerful. I mean, and when you share about, last year in the summer, the marching, and you put out a powerful song called We Are. And, again, that was something we were playing a lot in our house. I wasn't able to go march with, having a new baby, but
Yeah.
I was glued to the TV. I was trying to, send resources where I could to help support people. When you created that, did you know that that was going to come from you, or was it something that the movement sort of inspired, the people inspired?
It was crazy because it was almost like the spirit spoke to me before the moment,
Mm,
and I wrote a song in August before the summer following, which was the May and June where we went to the protest. And as I built the song over the course of 8 months leading to that summer, and just before in the spring, I went down to New Orleans and I put my high school marching band on the song, the St. Augustine Marching 100, St. All Purple Knights, and I put them on the record, and I put my grandfather on the record,
wow.
and I put my nephews on the record, and it all multi generational excellence in lineage and tradition, and it represents is it's just in protest the way that they try to make us look and feel in all of these forms of media and in all of these games that we sometimes have to go through.
Mhm.
So I made the song just trying to dig my hands into the dirt of my roots
Mm,
and make an anthem that was just about us and about me at the same time. You see the macro and the micro. And that was before we knew that we would be in the streets marching. So then I just felt like, oh, I gotta put it out now. I know the album is like a year out, but like I'm gonna put that out now. And that had to happen.
John, I don't think I realized that, but it also explains why that for me, that song really, like you said, it had a really deep, deep meaning to it. And it explains it was because you took it all the way back to your roots and they were a part of it.
Oh yeah, because I wrote the in 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 the dressing room in between doing a bunch of things that I was working. I was working on Soul. I was working on the Late Show. I was working on the Other Meditation album, and I was working on this. And I finished these songs for the record, all the songs in 6 days. It just came channeled through me, and I didn't know what it meant. It happened so fast, and then even over the course of the 8 months, I was refining the songs and refining the lyrics and refining the production. And Law would be in the studio. He would see us in there, just kind of like just experiment, trying to figure out what works, what to put here, what to put there. I didn't know what it was gonna mean when it was done. It was just literally coming. It was not me. It was coming through. It was.
Wow. Wow. Very something very spiritual. But I believe people from New Orleans also are very, very tapped into the spiritual parts of themselves for sure. um, John, I'm thinking about when you were a little baby John and you grew up with a musical family, your uncles, and did you think this was something that you would pursue? And I ask that because I know people watching are also perhaps trying to pursue their dreams or trying to figure it out. And I'm just wondering, was this something that you always had like in your mind that you would be one day?
I was not the one that thought that I would be the musician because there was so many at the time when I was coming up. I was the youngest one. I was just on the Zoom, in fact, with Japan. About I was talking to some folks in Japan about my first ever television performance was when I was 9 years old, and I was the youngest sibling of my. At the time, I had like 10 older cousins, and I have my father's side. It's six uncles, and they had the family band, and they put me in the front of the family like Jackson Five, like I was little MJ, and they had me sing the commercial because they would go to Japan every year for like 3 or 4 years and perform, and they had a commercial advertised for their performance. And I was too young to go to Japan at the time, but because I was in school, but they were like, "Well, just let's have John perform in the ad," and so like I just remember first just terrified. Like, oh my goodness, I gotta, and they kept the takes, and I would just learn stuff just from doing it. Years over these. I would learn from doing it, but I was just doing it because everybody else was doing it. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm gonna move to New York, I'm gonna start a band, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be out here doing my thing like that. I was just the youngest one.
Mm.
doing it. And then over the years, you pick up so much. And the thing of refining your craft and you refining yourself, opportunities start coming to you. So, and I got to move to New York. Got the opportunity with my when I started the band to go on tour. And then after a while, oh, it chose me. I'm a musician. That's it.
That's powerful. And talk about consistency, and talk about also, it seems like there's a certain quality of like fearlessness to it, and just
Oh,
going with the flow.
yeah, you said it. Yeah, you you gotta see. I I realized that I thought, and I'm still refining. I had to define what success means to me,
Hmm.
and define what values I believe important, because a lot of people in just culture in your family or your friends or just people who even love you, they will have ideas about what should be of value to you. And if you don't define it within yourself first and define it based upon what you believe in, then you get caught up in what everybody think. Oh man, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should be pursuing this, and then you end up pursuing it, and next thing you know, then you like, man, I don't this don't really matter at all. And in fact, you might realize sometimes it don't really matter to them either. They just think other people told them they should. So, so like I'm just not at this point in my life still just refining what I define success to be, and continue just fearlessly after it.
Mm. That's powerful. And I think it speaks to finding your own way. And like you said, making sure you realize that even if someone is kind of trying to push something, it might not be something that they can even do or really want to do themselves. That's powerful, John. I appreciate that. Tell me a little bit about like the initial days, when we like all had to, sort of stop life as we knew it in the pandemic. I know that you had to sort of transition from recording, the late show, like, live and with an audience. You had to kind of do this remotely. Like, what was it like to pivot? And was there any point where you kind of struggled with the setup, so to speak?
Yeah, it was a struggle. I tell you for real. The first, I would say about 2 months, 2.5 months was a struggle to just get adjusted to being by myself for that long.
Mm.
Like, it'd be stretches where I couldn't even be with anybody because I was trying to figure out just at the very last minute how to finish the score for the film. It became so obviously how to finish the season of the Late Show, which we filmed 5 shows a week, and what that ended up, and there was so many other things that were coming in. We didn't know the world would stop completely. We
Right.
just thought go and get this out of the way for 2 3 weeks, and then we'll come back. So I went and set up shop somewhere, thinking I was gonna only be there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and set up so that I could be by myself. Situation, it wasn't a situation where you can go and live normally. I'm setting it up, producing a television show, making a film score, and then have quarantine from like far from people, and also sleep and eat and cook. So I had my own little kind of like setup, which turned out to be very difficult
Mm.
because living a very social, artistic life, and I'm somebody who like to have a lot of stimulus, a lot of information input coming in at all times. Like when I'm, I like to have like sometimes the TV on or like a record playing in the back or some movie that's playing. Or having like a magazine's open. Like I'm looking in the magazine, might take some ideas from, and then it go from that. It's just you.
Mm.
Um, and I struggle with that for a good minute just to find what's the new equilibrium, what's the pattern.
Yep, yep. I think I appreciate you sharing that, because I think many people still are trying to figure it out. But like you said, those first days, we thought it was just going to be a week or two, and go back to it. But it was also a time when we really didn't know what the virus was going to do, and so people were really trying to be as protected as possible. So I'm glad that you figured out how to get things back to a more equilibrium, right? What were some things that you found that helped? Like, did you learn new coping strategies or come up with some new stuff?
I sure did. Look, I'm a very, as we all are in this day and age. Before this, everybody's moving time, and I have, like my mother's recipe, my grandmother's recipe for red beans and gumbo, different forms of food that really bring me back home in a spiritual sense, also obviously in a cultural sense. But I would oftentimes not have time in my life to just do it and really do it the right way. Because some recipes you talking about 2 days, 3 days of prep to actually, and then you have to have the right ingredients, find ways to get the right bean, the right seed, all kinds of stuff that people just when you live in New York or not from home, you just feel like, well, let me just find a shortcut. I found, let me just do it the long, long way, like the long way, and it was a meditation.
Mm.
It became meditation making things. In fact, one time I made a whole little cooking tutorial, leaving out like the real detail, putting the recipe, sharing that with people. People's like, "Dang, you like cooking." That became a way for me to just like at the end of a day, okay, it's 5 o'clock. I'm about to spend 5 hours cooking and eating, and I'm cooking for myself just a whole feast: red beans, rice. I got some collard greens. I'm making some pies in there. I made cinnamon rolls. I put up they made those. Yeah, some scratch rolls from scratch. Kind of stuff to just bring me back, and that was a beautiful thing to discover. Um, Even if I don't get back to it, if life goes back to some level of what it was before,
Hmm.
that is something to go to as a coping is a powerful thing.
That is. And I love that you said it brought you back home, even from a spiritual sense. Cause I think I encourage people to try, especially during this time, and they're trying to figure out ways to preserve their mental health and their wellness, to kind of rediscover things about yourself, to try something new. Because like you said, that can bring out a whole other form of meditation or peace. And you wouldn't know if you didn't have the time to really kind of do it.
It's true. You're so right, Jess. Think that, wow, like what am I gonna do? And then you realize there's a ton of stuff. You're a wellspring of experiences. You got so much in you that you've been through, and the people around you who poured into you, and your family and your friends and all these different parts of what culminated to you. You just gotta
Mhm.
take from that and go back to and feed those parts to yourself. So that's really what I learned, you know.
Absolutely. Let me ask you, it's kind of shifting gears, but I'm like, I'm trying to find things to watch and listen to. So right now, do you have any like records or songs or books or like shows that you're watching? What's kind of on repeat? What's happening in John's world in that space?
As a matter of fact, so I'm like, I mean, real talk. I started going back to the scriptures, and after seeing what's happening in the world, I started looking at the Revelation, and
Okay.
then I started checking out this what's going on in the presidency. This Barack Obama right
Woo!
now. This like,
That's a huge book.
oh yeah,
Wow. Jeez.
uh,
That looks
going
like
in.
a book I would prop something on. That's a huge book.
It's crazy to thinking about. I mean, this go way deep. Just thinking about the president, what that means, types of people we pick for that office, and what that means. I mean, we could. That's a whole nother.
That might
But
be a separate conversation.
yeah, yeah, and Beethoven.
Oh
I,
wow.
they were talking about Beethoven was black online, and I was like, man, I about it. How many musicians can you name? I can't name I can't name five musicians who recorded Beethoven that's black.
Hmm.
Like five black musicians that recorded Beethoven sonatas on the piano. Like I'm gonna just learn them, and then I'm gonna record. So it's just like people need to see black excellence across every single diaspora, every spectrum, because we represent so much of culture across time. Not just in America. See, that's a whole nother hour. Anyway,
But that's the kind of conversations I like to have too. I mean, but John, I don't think I didn't realize that you could not name five black artists who have recorded. And I guess, for me, like, I don't come from, I played the saxophone like when I was in,
I,
middle school and high school, and when I ran for Miss Tuskegee. But Beethoven, like, everyone knows that name. Everyone knows, like, the run. But for to say that no one, that you can only find five black artists who have actually recorded themselves playing it, it just blows my mind. Like, what is that about? What's going on here?
I don't know. I was really the reason I started to um to learn it was to kind of fix that. I think a lot of times artists, there's these little opportunities that you get a lifetime. It's like chances you get to be the person to, okay, let me just set this straight. And I got a long list, but I just said, look, man, that Beethoven, great music, a black perspective, which is just a human perspective, but a black American modern perspective on that will be very powerful for people to see that.
Okay, well, you don't have to say much else. I'm gonna keep my eyes on the internet. I'm gonna scroll through everything until I find it. If you release that, I'm gonna be patiently waiting for that.
Oh, that sound, boy. Woo! Oh,
Don't
come
hurt
on,
them. Don't hurt them. Do not hurt them,
man.
John. Well, we're ready for it. We are so ready for it. John, I got a couple more questions, and then, I want to let you get back to life and the many, things that you're working on. But one thing that I kind of encourage people, and I grew up doing a lot, was using like an affirmation, which is a statement that you state as fact. And for me, it's sort of this like meditation as well. And so my affirmation that I kind of go to when times are hard, or if I'm feeling like I'm just not really in my good, like, balanced state, I say the words life is good. And it just reminds me of, like, get it together. This is what we're doing. Do you have anything that you maybe reflect on? It may not be an affirmation, but something that if you kind of reflect, it's been the thing that you use as your sort of North Star, or to bring you back to center.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I say this one is it's something I had on my wall, but it's really God is my source. Everything I do, I can see far beyond what is hear far beyond what is heard. I have complete and radical in my being. And that's like you beat that one. And that just I mean, we could go into a whole talk on affirmations because that's a power there. That's a key. Come on.
I gotta step my affirmation up after hearing yours. I gotta build mine out a little bit.
No, they don't have to be long. Cause yours is it's all about your rest. Life is good. I love that. I was thinking about because there's another book I was reading. It's called Seeds of Contemplation.
Hmm.
And the idea of just constantly having something on a loop almost in your being,
Hmm.
almost like you conditioning yourself while you walking around, and it's conditioning yourself, conditioning the way you act, the way you approach things, the way you talk. I'm trying to get to that level with the affirmation to where it's just conditioning me.
Hmm.
at all times. So that's a level like riding a bike. Like, the more you do it, the more you get there.
Ooh, I have to check that one out. I mean, it's powerful, and I think it's something like you said. Like I grew up, my mom kind of like pushed that on me a little bit. I won't say she pushed it, but it was something that she would kind of say like, you need to, speak it into existence, and it just became a part of what I found I would go back to. But I really love what you're describing as something that's on a loop that
Mm-hmm.
sort of resonates and comes out.
It's
That's
it's
what people, I hope they can use this time, to start to investigate and explore while we have, more time at home and less sort of out with the world and sort of getting distracted a bit.
yeah. Get your loops together.
Get
Get
your
them,
loops together. I love that.
them loops.
Jon, do you have any like words of encouragement for people, like your fans? Anything that you want to say to encourage them? Again, I'm thinking a lot about people's overall mental health and just things that any words of encouragement.
Wow, you are not alone. People feel that they're alone at the time, and that's like the song said, "We never alone." No, no, no. That's it right there. We're never alone. No, no. We're never alone. That. Man.
I appreciate you, Jon. Thank you so much for spending this time. Oh, yes.
Ooh, that car. Why, why? He said, "We're never alone. No, no. We're never alone." Ooh, ooh.
We sure are not. Jon, you are amazing. You're fantastic. I have to say, I feel as though we are witnessing greatness and certainly one of the greats of our time and probably of all time. So I wish you continued success on your journey. And I really appreciate you spending time with the Be Well community. Again, I really look forward to when we can all be in person again. I know my husband-in-law is also looking forward to that too. Um, Separately, we checked out your jazz night. It released like December 31st, and so that was amazing to see the last time that at least me and my husband got to like be able to watch
Live.
you in person in that intimate setting.
Hey, this is.
That one is always on repeat as well. It is. It is.
Healing. That's a healing. Whew.
It is. Well, Jon, I hope again to be able to, again connect in person in the future again, really, really soon. And if we get to have a longer, extended conversation in person, that would be an honor. But again, thank you so much for your time here tonight. Um, so yes, I appreciate you.
Yes. Head on. Just much love.
All right, I'm going to sign you off so I can tell everyone, recap everyone on what they need to know about what to do to stay connected.
Yeah.
Have a great 2021, Jon.
Bye.
Bye. You all, we have just had an incredible conversation with Jon. He graced us with playing on the keys and singing for us. Look, I mean, I'm really at a loss of words. So again, this is Be Well at Home. It is a conversation series that we're going to keep going and bringing guests. So please be sure to drop in the comments who you would like me to interview next. Share what you want to hear more of. Stick around on the channel and find other things to get into. What is most important is I want you to know if you need help, seek help. If you feel like you are having persistently low mood, you're feeling anxious, look in the comment and look in the description. I have some resources for you to find help. It is okay to seek it. You are not alone, as Jon shared with us before. And lastly, I want to remind you, as I do always, you are not your pain, you are love. Be well.